My name is Izzy Alvarez, also known as Prada. I work for Fellowship Missionary Church, and I'm the general manager of the record label Anointed Entertainment.
Father God, let it rain on me. Air I breathe. Need you, Lord.
As a general manager of Anointed Entertainment, our goal is to use music as a catalyst to reach all types of people, all age ranges, and just minister the gospel of Jesus Christ, using his words to disciple and to show people love. As a general manager, there's a whole lot of responsibilities that come with that. I mean, managing artists, producing, everything under the sun when it comes to doing music. But the deeper thing is just to really be an example of how to live my life as a godly man and do everything according to what God has called us to do. Years ago, when I first started doing music, I was in and out of the music scene. My relationship with Christ was there, but I wasn't as serious with Christ as I am now. At the time, I was dating my wife. She was not my wife at the time, and we weren't living like we should have been. My relationship with my wife, Samantha, was the typical teenage relationship. You know, we were definitely living in sin, but we supposedly loved Jesus. And so the conflict was there, the inconsistency was there to live for Christ, but also demonstrate other things within our relationship that were not godly. I was definitely living an inconsistent life.
Let it rain on me, Father God, let it rain on me. I need you like the air I breathe. Let it rain on me, Father God, let it rain on me.
It all came to a head a few years ago. My wife and I were dating, and we took a break. I was still ministering, doing music. I had just actually dropped my first album, and months after that, I find out she's pregnant. Man, it hit me like a ton of bricks. There was so much in that scenario that was just running through my mind. God, how am I doing your will if I'm sleeping with this woman? God, how do I not look like a hypocrite? How can I hide it? All these things were running through my mind, and it took people like Pastor Keith and others to come alongside me to make the right decisions and do what I have to do.
Let it rain on me, Father God, let it rain on me. I need you like the air I breathe. Let it rain on me, Father God, let it rain on me. Like you bless the vine and let them see. Let it rain on me.
Pastor Keith and I, we both moved here from North Carolina. I actually moved here with him. He's my mentor, but more than that, he's like a father to me. He's been there through thick and thin. He's been one of the consistent things in my life. My previous lifestyle, my walk with Jesus Christ was just like a roller coaster. And so for somebody physically to keep me in track, to keep me motivated, to keep me balanced was very necessary in my life. It is so easy to live a compromised life, especially if you're not grounded in the Word of God, because temptations come left and right. And if you're grounded in the Word of God, you can fight these things off like Jesus did in the wilderness with Satan. I learned that God is way bigger than my inconsistencies. I learned that there is nothing too big that he can't handle. If he was able to bring my wife and I back together, if he was able to change my heart, if he was able to continue to convict me and bring me to the place I am now, he has to be a great God. He has to be a big God. I'm not perfect by any means. I still mess up, but my God is big enough to continue to change me.
Let it rain on me, Father God, let it rain on me. I need you like the air I breathe. Let it rain on me, Father God, let it rain on me. Like you bless the blind and let them see. Let it rain on me.
God is real, God is big, and there is nothing he cannot do if you just submit your life to him. I say yes to a lot more ministry opportunities now because there's no reason to live in guilt. There's no reason to live in bondage. I'm not perfect, and nobody's perfect. And if I say no to the things that God's calling me to do, then I'm never going to live in the fullness and righteousness of what he's calling me to do. So I think sometimes I need to take a step of faith and just put myself out there and say, God, you have your will. God, you do what it is you need to do, and let that happen. I mean, there are still things that I struggle with. There are still nights that I cry myself to sleep just because of the inconsistencies in my life. Am I a good father? Am I a good husband? Am I a good man of God? These are things that always haunt me. But at the end of the day, I just look to the sky and say, God, you know, you just have your way. and I'm going to do whatever it is you call me to do. I often reference David. You know, David slept with Bathsheba and killed her husband, but still this is a man after God's own heart. And so if God can do something in this guy's life, he has to be able to do something in mine.
Let it rain on me, Father God, let it rain on me. I need you like the air I breathe. Let it rain on me, Father God, let it rain on me. Like you bless the blind and let them see. Let it rain on me.
Let it rain on me. Open your windows up. Please keep them blessings.